Well, welcome everyone to the full moon meeting in Taurus, and greetings to all of those people who are joining us via the live streaming. We're now celebrating the festival of Wesak, that time of the year when the forces of enlightenment that we associate with the Buddha pour into the planet. And many of you will no doubt be familiar with the legend of Wesak, an annual event wherein the Buddha is said to return to earth to transmit specific energies to an assembly of adepts and disciples. At the peak time of the full moon of Taurus, high up in a Tibetan valley in the Himalayas, the Buddha makes a brief appearance. The potency of his transmission, too great to be endured for long by those who are gathered there. His great brother, the Christ, also participates in the ceremony, stepping down the potency of the Buddha's transmission. And it's then radiated out through the gathering and into the world. This legend is full of imagery to stimulate the creative imagination. So let's pause for reflection and then say together the Gayatri. O thou who givest sustenance to the universe, from whom all things proceed, to whom all things return, unveil to us the face of the true spiritual sun, hidden by a disk of golden light, that we may know the truth and do our whole duty as we journey to thy sacred feet. Two qualities that we associate with the Christ and the Buddha are love and wisdom, respectively. And while the Christ's demonstration of love has been the inspiration for Christians in the Western Hemisphere for 2,000 years, the Buddha has inspired those in the Eastern Hemisphere for even longer. The Christ and the Buddha brought two different aspects of the same energy to humanity, that of a divine ray known in esoteric teachings as love wisdom. And this great ray of energy is the motivating force behind the evolution of human consciousness, slowly transforming the intelligent but largely self-serving type of person into the group-spirited humanitarian with a more universal approach to life. Perfectly expressed, love wisdom relates everything to everything else. As this unification proceeds, So this energy simultaneously draws consciousness back through the dimensions towards the divine life from which it emanates. The ray of love wisdom acts like a cosmic magnet, and those who express its power do so through an irresistible spiritual magnetism. The Christ, the great exponent of love, expressed this attractive power in the words, "I, if I be lifted up, will draw all men unto me." If magnetism influences matter, we shouldn't be surprised at its influence over consciousness in a similar way. As yet, we know that cosmology isn't aware of the role magnetism plays in the evolution of matter, let alone consciousness. But the more enlightened cosmologists are starting to suspect that gravity alone cannot account for the formative processes of the universe, and that magnetism must somehow be involved. Realization of this will lead to a revolution in astrophysics. And how gravity works in partnership with electricity and magnetism in creating galaxies, stars, and planets can be found in the electric bridge section of the Lucis Trust website. One of the most recent discoveries concerning magnetism is that it can control heat and sound, which has come as rather a shock to scientists. A landmark experiment by researchers at the Ohio State University has demonstrated that the phonon, the elementary particle that carries heat and sound, contains magnetic properties. And in the words of Professor Joseph Heremans, people might be surprised enough to learn that heat and sound have anything to do with each other, least of all that either can be controlled by magnets. But both are expressions of the same form of energy. So any force that controls one should control the other. Essentially, heat is the vibration of atoms. Heat is conducted through materials by vibrations. The hotter material is, the faster the atoms vibrate. Sound is the vibration of atoms too, he continues. It's through vibrations that I talk to you, because my vocal cords compress the air and create vibrations that travel to you, and you pick them up as sound. So this discovery is a curious development, for magnetism, heat, and sound are the three basic characteristics of primordial matter, or what the ancient scriptures called Akasha. In combination with magnetic sound, it is through this burning substance that the creative process began. A process that's symbolized in the Christian Bible by the familiar phrase, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." The magnetic creative power of the Word is not unique to Christianity, of course. There's the sacred word of Buddhism and the lost word of Masonry. This idea of magnetism as a factor in creation has recently been proposed by plasma scientist David Lapointe, which he has set out in a series of videos called the Prima Fields. In his laboratory, he demonstrates the amazing properties of bowl-shaped magnetic fields. Two magnetized bowls are used in his demonstrations, one facing upwards, the other downwards, to form an hourglass shape. And when ball bearings are introduced into the magnetic field between the two bowls, they are immediately organized into various geometrical patterns. Lapointe then shows how his experiments can be scaled up to provide a much simpler explanation than those offered by standard cosmology for the formation of suns, galaxies, and other cosmic phenomena. He suggests that bowl-shaped magnetic fields exist around all forms of matter, not only on a cosmic scale, but at subatomic levels too. And by considering photons of light in this way, a simple explanation is offered as to why light demonstrates the properties of both a wave and a particle, a phenomenon that has mystified quantum physicists for nearly 100 years. If these bowl-shaped fields do surround all matter, their origin is open to speculation, as this lies outside the field of Lapointe's research. But they are suggestive of magnetic blueprints that shape matter in an intelligent and purposeful way. If sound is working in conjunction with magnetism to organize the activities of suns and stars, then we've got a direct correspondence to the Ageless Wisdom teachings on the Akasha. And it's fascinating to know that astronomers at the Sheffield University have recently recorded the eerie musical harmonies produced by the magnetic field in the outer atmosphere of the sun. Huge loops of magnetic plasma vibrate there like strings on a musical instrument. And NASA has also recorded sounds coursing through the sun's interior, causing the entire globe or parts of it to move in and out. And these recordings can be listened to on YouTube. These discoveries of the relationship between magnetism and sound help to demystify the Ageless Wisdom teachings and encourage a more scientific approach. Consider, for example, the following sutra by the ancient seer Patanjali. By the means of one-pointed meditation upon the relationship between Akasha and sound, an organ for spiritual hearing will be developed. The science of evolution holds that the play of physical light and sound on primitive beings develops the eye and the ear. Similarly, meditation on the Akasha tunes the yogi into the sounds that radiate from it, and as they play upon the consciousness, an inner ear emerges. As a commentary on this sutra puts it, just as all the substances of our manifested solar system are differentiations of the Akasha, so distinctions of sound are differentiations of the one sound. All are divine in time and space, but all have to be heard correctly, and all lead eventually to form in their totality the Om, the word of glory, the macrocosmic word. And when speech is rightly used, and the sounds of the earth can likewise be stilled, then the voice of the silence can be heard. In Charles Johnson's commentary on this sutra, he writes, "The transfer of a word by telepathy is the simplest and earliest form of the divine hearing of the spiritual man. As that power grows, and as through perfectly concentrated meditation, the spiritual man comes into more complete mastery of it, he grows able to hear and clearly distinguish the speech of the great companions who counsel and comfort him on his way. They may speak to him either in wordless thoughts or in perfectly definite words and sentences. And sound and magnetism, we know, are key features of the Wesak Festival. When a gathering of like-minded people come together in united purpose, their auras blend and form one united channel for the downflow. And the effect is tremendously intensified and can be worldwide in its radius. At the time of the Wesak Festival, we learn that the spiritual hierarchy of the planet forms itself into a channel for the transmission of power and blessing from the levels on which the Buddha can be found. And he acts as a focal point for that power, and passing it through his aura, he pours it out over mankind by means of the channel provided by the assembled lords, masters, initiates, and disciples. This channel is formed by the simultaneous use of sound and rhythm. By chanting a certain mantra, accompanied by slow and measured movements, a funnel is formed that reaches upwards to the desired locality. The geometrical figures formed in the matter of the plane higher than the physical form create themselves into wonderful avenues of approach to the center of blessing for the inhabitants, diva or otherwise, from any particular plane. And for those who can see clairvoyantly, the beauty of the geometric forms is unbelievable. And that beauty is enhanced by the radiant auras of the great ones who are gathered there. So the Wesak Festival is a beautiful instance of true ceremonial ritual, the distorted reflection of which is seen in various religious ceremonies around the world. But as science clarifies the use of sound and magnetism, of ritualistic movement, prayer and meditation, a new form of approach to divinity will start to appear, one which will be more acceptable to the more intelligent and perhaps scientific minds of a 21st century. For we live in a time when science is rejecting religious thought as irrational. Ironically, though, many atheistic scientists reveal their own spirituality when they remonstrate about outmoded religious views. Einstein himself caused great controversy when he rejected a personalized God. Yet he expressed his belief in divinity by attesting that behind anything that can be experienced, there is something that our mind cannot grasp, and whose beauty and sublimity reaches us only indirectly and is a feeble reflection. This is religiousness. In this sense, he said, I am religious. The transcendentalist and poet Ralph Emerson made the memorable remark that the religion of one age is the literary entertainment of another, highlighting the fact that religion has to evolve with man's growing understanding of truth and reality. For as we know, the true meaning of religion is to bind back to the one. And it's clear from the sense of awe and unity that many scientists experience from their study of the universe and the cosmos, and often well-developed humanitarianism, that they are closer to the spirit of the coming world religion than those who remain enslaved to doctrine. The founding fathers of America were clear on the value of secularity, as was Nehru, who wrote, when drawing up the constitution for India, the spectacle for what is called religion, or at any rate organized religion, in India and elsewhere, has filled me with horror, and I have frequently condemned it and wished to make a clean sweep of it. Almost always it seemed, he said, to stand for blind belief and reaction, dogma and bigotry, superstition, exploitation, and the preservation of vested interests. Quite a strong opinion. Many scientists and people like Emerson and Nehru bring a necessary counterbalance to the somewhat outmoded aspects of religion. And although there's changes happening within religion which we should acknowledge, there is also a need for new religious thinking, an approach relevant to the era in which we find ourselves, based on fresh spiritual insight rather than dogmatism. Humanity has been passing through an intense period of materialism, and it's lost its spiritual sense to the spirit of separateness, and this contravenes the great law of love. However, it's a learning process, as through separation, man finds himself, and then, driven by the indwelling Buddhic or Christ principle, transcends himself and finds himself again in all selves. The primary task of all who wish to serve humanity is to do just this, to rediscover themselves in others. For this simple revelation provides the power for all service work, and the greater the realization, the more effective the server and the service can be. A simple yet profound law that holds true in all instances. The oneness of all planetary life, the fact that we are all part of each other, is the spirit in which we make our group approach to the full moon work in Taurus. And reflecting on the living magnetic potencies that cooperate together at this time of the Wesak Festival stimulates this realization. This festival is truly a group effort, an accumulated aspiration to be part of the chain of hierarchy, one great cosmic magnet through which the spiritual tide of energy from Taurus can flow right down into human hearts and minds, unifying, lifting and revealing the fact of the kingdom of God. People everywhere are beginning to resonate with this spiritual magnetism, which is increasing as more and more people of goodwill join the worldwide group of service. The cosmic magnet is turning up the power of love wisdom, drawing all together and inwards toward spiritual reality. And in the words of the Agni Yoga teachings, only reason can direct the cosmic magnet. Therefore, cosmic reason, which permeates everything, brings tension to everything. The energies that differ in potentiality take their proper place in cosmos, affirming their role according to the level of their developing power. Thus, the degree of potentiality of the energy determines its position on a higher or a lower step. Similarly, is the evolutionary step of the human spirit determined. The cosmic magnet intensifies the quality of the spirit, leading it into the infinite.